Today, we're going to be going over a little install that I did with LMO hair. Now, before we get into all the specifics and the packaging of this beautiful hair, y'all know we got to get into this intro.
Life ain't marvelous. People so kind and fit. Silent how I move around. They hate me cause I'm groovy now. I just started. Ain't no way I'm coming down. Lock on to the target. Feel the heat raining down. Memories from 4 years ago feel like yesterday. See me progressing, I'm better than yesterday. Elevate now, I got food on my dinner plate. Starting to making shit, that's what my mama say. Honestly, I'm around.
So, while I'm disinfecting everything down, let me give you a little rundown. So, my client brought me this wig and she says, "Hey, can you put this on my head?" And I'm like, "Girl, yes, let's do it." So normally what I have my clients do is they drop their units off to me 2 to 3 days prior to the install. That way I can inspect it, bleach it, pluck it, all that good jug, right? So this is how the hair came. Nice little baggie it came in, and this is the actual hair. My client expressed to me that she had this hair for a while, so that's why it's in the state that it's in. It never got put on. But what I like to do at this moment is start to inspect everything. Now, when you're doing this inspection, you want to make sure that you are looking for any flaws or defective things within the unit, within the lace or anything like that. What I normally look for is the knots. Are my knots big? Are my knots small? Like what are my knots looking like? Is it messy? How do they place them in there? Am I going to be able to bleach this properly? I have to assess these things so I know how much work I'm about to have ahead of me and try to section out my day according to that. So the knots on this unit were actually pretty nice and I didn't have to deal with a whole lot of extra stuff. So all I did was I flipped it inside out. And that's the inside of the cap. It's got 4 combs. It's got the little part for the strap. And that's basically it. So these are the products that I use to do my bleaching. If the knots are good, I always use a 40 volume developer. If my knots are too big, I'll use a 20 volume developer so I am able to bleach it a couple of times without doing like hardcore damage to the hair. Now, if you know your sis, you know I love my popsicle sticks, okay? They're easy to control. You get a bunch of them, just throw them away when you're done and you keep it pushing. So a while ago, I came up with this formula, if you want to call it that helped me figure out how many scoops I needed for closures, frontals, full laces, all that. Because let's face it, y'all. Let me keep it a whole note with you on my channel. I'm a broke bitch. I don't give a fuck what you see on social media. I'm a broke bitch, okay? And I can't afford to be wasting product overusing these expensive ass products for my services. So I had to kind of be scientific and figure it out a little bit. And I hope it helps y'all. So the next thing that I'm going to get into is the consistency of my bleach. It is very important that you keep good consistency when it comes to your bleach. So what I do is I like to pour in a little at a time. I don't just go pouring in and then, see where it goes from there. I always pour in a little at a time because I want to achieve that cookie dough texture first. Because the worst thing you can do is add too much developer because then you have to add more bleach to thicken it up. And then guess what? You're overusing product. So like you see I'm doing here, I keep adding little by little because I want to get it to that nice, smooth, creamy texture to where it sticks to my popsicle stick, but it's not like dripping off. Because if it's too runny, it will creep up the shaft of your hair and start to bleach the roots. The goal is to just bleach the knots. Do you see the way mine looks right now? That's actually really good. It can go a little bit looser than this to help it spread better. First things first, don't be like me, wear gloves, okay? I'm just careless. I'm living on the edge. But look, so because the consistency of the bleach is so thick, you can give it a little bit of pressure to make it cling to the knots just a little bit more. I eventually, at some point, added a little bit more developer to my bleach because it was a little bit too stiff and it became a little bit hard to work. If you're noticing that as you're spreading it, it's starting to roll a little bit, add a little bit more bleach. You don't want the bleach to roll as you try to spread it. Make sure that you're checking your knots every 10 to 15 minutes to make sure that they're processing properly because you don't want to end up over processing anything and damaging out the knots. The next thing you want to do is head over to the sink. Make sure you're using warm water when you're doing this, not hot water. It will speed up the chemical processing of the hair and potentially damage the hair. So what I like to use is a clarifying shampoo. So the clarifying shampoo helps me strip all of the chemical agents out of the hair, strip any impurities off the hair. You can get this at any one of your dollar stores, or you can get it at Sally's. You can get clarifying shampoo anywhere. Always remember that when you're washing your units, make sure you are washing them in a downward motion. Always wash your units in a downward motion. So Ion has this really dope color defense line. So this is the shampoo that I use. It's for chemically treated hair. It's super rich, super creamy. I love it. I take a little bit of this and I also take the Cool Blondes shampoo and I put it on the unit. What I'm trying to do is restore moisture and also tone the knots at the same time. Just squeeze a little bit of that up there and I get to rubbing. I let that sit for about 15 minutes after I rub it in, and then I move on to the Color Defense Conditioner. Super rich, super creamy, and it adds so much moisture to the hair. I love it. After I've rinsed out the unit in cold water, I start sectioning out my little plucking area. Here's what I learned about plucking. If you're going to have baby hairs, take out the baby hairs first. Take out your baby hair section first. Do not touch that. Do not pluck into your baby hair section. Do not pluck into your baby hair section, okay? Then the next thing you want to do is that initial first row where it's going to be that starting to be that hairline section. You take that out as well. Put that with your baby hairs. Put that with your baby hairs. Lay it smooth. Lay it flat. Then you want to go in and start plucking behind that. So I'm always trying to keep my plucking techniques up to date. I'm always trying to learn a little bit more. And what I have learned so far up until this point is that when you're plucking, what you want to do is pluck right behind the hairline. Do not pluck literally the hairs that are at the forefront of the hairline. You want to go back at least about 2 to 3 centimeters, and start plucking right there. It's the easiest way to create dips and grooves to make it look super natural. Make sure that you're always combing the hair out of the way so you see what's coming out, how things look, and where you're standing on, as far as your style. Also remember that when you're plucking from the root. You're plucking from right there on the knot. Do not pluck a ways down the shaft of the hair because all you're doing is breaking the hair off. Big tip. Wherever you're going to be parting your client's hair, make sure you're not plucking that super thin because I promise you it won't look right during styling. Never pluck dry. Always pluck your hair while it's wet. When you're plucking it while it's wet, it gives you a better view of how your hair will look when it's styled and slicked back. As you can see, I still have somewhat of a hairline once I start to comb all the hair back, but I like to touch that up a little bit more when it gets on my client's head. It's much easier. Oh shit. Here he go with his bullshit. Hold on, y'all.
I was about to say, don't you run your fingers through that. Get out. Get out.
It always be some shit, y'all. Now my client has already been braided down, and as you can see, she has some hair loss around her hairline. You can't see the little hairs, but I promise you that they are there. So what I do is I make sure that I clean off her hairline with 91% alcohol. Then I go through with my Got To Be glue gel, and then I lay back all those little hairs that she does have around there. Just to make sure I'm not causing more damage to what was already damaged. So today in this install, I will be using Erica J's hair products, her lace products. This is her Hold Me Down adhesive skin guard. I love it. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's a lot of shit I don't like as far as these, lace companies and glue companies and shit. But this adhesive right here, baby, this my shit, y'all. I swear to God it is. So I give her a couple of sprays of that, let it dry naturally, and then we go to this cap. So my client has a very small head, so this is very easy for me to slide it across her head. But what I do use is plus size nude colored pantyhose. They're easier to get on my client's head, and any client that I have that may have a larger head, I just use a regular nude wig cap. So I found that using cream foundations or cream contours work best. The powdery stuff leaves your stuff looking ashy and dry with a flashback when you go to take a picture on camera. So you take a little bit of the cream concealer and you put it along the hairline. You do not have to do the whole entire cap. Number one, it's pretty wasteful as far as product, and you really only want it around the hairline in the few little sections where your client may part their hair. I always do this step before I apply my adhesive around her hairline because I don't like to gunk up the tip of my glue. So I'm going to go back in and go around her hairline with the Erica J lace glue. I'm not going to lie to y'all. It ain't bad. It ain't bad. It ain't bad. So, my client does have that hair loss, and for me, it's easy to see, but I know it's hard for you guys. But what I do is I go around her hairline where I still see those hairs where they are naturally supposed to be growing in, and I trace around that area. I do not put that on her hair at all because that's not where it goes, okay? It's just not where it goes, sis. It goes on the skin. Once I let that naturally dry, I sew down the back portion of where her frontal is going to be, and then I cut all of that off. Then I proceed to cut around her hairline. All that excess cap that's sitting there, I go and I cut all of that out. There are different ways to seal your cap on top. I like to use this hairspray. You can use the Got To Be Glued hairspray, this hairspray, any other extra hold hairspray, or Got To Be Glue gel. Anything to seal that cap back down. And then I take my Wig Gurus. I love the Wig Gurus. But I take the Wig Gurus and I spray it on the lace, okay? These colors are buildable. You can make shades and everything just by mixing them. The key to using this, and I need you to listen, the key to using this that I had to learn is do not blow dry it dry. Do not do that. What you want to do is you want to saturate it in the color that you want. I kind of rub the color around a little bit with my fingers. Make sure I'm mixing whatever colors that I need to mix, and then you let it air dry. If you try to blow dry this stuff, What it's essentially doing with the high velocity of air is pushing the pigment out of the lace and into the hair. I combined her Frappuccino and Finest Mocha. Those are the two colors I used on her to give her the shade that she has, you know, for her end result. Like I said, I spray the lighter one on first. I always do my light color first because you can always build from lighter, okay? Always remember that. So I go back through with my rubbing alcohol and my skin guard to re-clean and re-protect my client. If you are going to be using the rubbing alcohol, I suggest you use a Q-tip for more precision. It helps. As you apply your glue, you want to remember not to use globs of glue. And once again, I like to use my fucking popsicle stick because the control I get with that bad boy is outrageous. You want to make sure that your layers are super thin and you want to move quickly. Make sure that the temperature in your room is not too hot because it will mess up your applications. So make sure that you have some type of source of cool air pumping through to make sure your client stays from getting sweaty and to make sure that the glue actually goes clear the way it's supposed to. I normally give my clients 3 to 5 good layers of glue to give them a nice time frame on their installs. So once I have my client's unit on her head, I go through with a fresh, and I recommend a fresh eyebrow razor because it gives you that beautiful jagged natural line that you want when you cut your lace. You don't want that straight across look. You want it nice and jagged. Anywhere that you see that may need more glue, I recommend you get a rat tail comb, the metal ones, put a little glue on the tip of it and apply it into those spots where it's not down all the way. Make sure you're not applying a bunch of foam to the hairline because what it will do is it will loosen the glue before it sets and it will start to shift your unit and you will be highly upset and you'll have to go back through and redo a couple of things. So I like to foster a nice, relaxing, and comfortable environment while my clients are here. Everybody knows that this is a safe space that you can come to tell your stories, laugh, joke, you know, cry. Hell, maybe even sing. So I love my wand curls. So I give her the medium size wand curls, but I take bigger sections so it's more of a wave than a curl. If you take small sections, you get something tighter, something poofier. If you take bigger sections with a smaller curl, you get a deeper wave. Does that make sense? The products I used are a wax stick, my shine spray, and my hairspray. I already put the wax stick on top of her hairline and then a little bit on her edges. Then I'll go through and spray it with the hairspray and then also put shine spray. The hairspray holds everything down, all the flyaways and stuff, and then the shine spray just adds a little shine to the curls. After that, I can talk to you about these baby hairs. You know, if you really want to achieve great baby hairs, which I did not do here, use a half inch flat iron, give them a curl a little bit and it'll do the little swoopy thing that you want instead of me, you know, having to try to manipulate these straight hairs into a curled fashion. Last thing that I'm going to tell you before I go is that if you plan on having soft, fluffy baby hairs, make sure you're using foam. If you want to really set those baby hairs in place, use, Gorilla Snot or something like that to keep it there. So this was the final look. She was very pleased with the look, and I was happy that she was pleased with the look. You got to get that tuck behind the ear action, you know what I'm saying? But I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them down in the comments. And if you like this video, thumb it up.